Terrible. Anyways, back to the Jank Brewing Company. Let's get going. Oh, there we go. Isn't that nice? First deck is called Flying Daggers. Oh, that's one more thing I wanted to do. This is the grand opening, folks, so we're breaking in the brewery a bit here. There may be a few hiccups. That's kind of a double entendre. Unintended. But still great, I guess. What color should we make the deck title? No colors ever seem to show up. How about orange? I don't really want to put a background on it. It's so unclear. I don't want to put it on the bottom because it'll cover my plugs. All right. We're just going to have to make this more clear somehow. Outline always looks terrible to me, but we'll do it. Do what we got to do. I'll take it. Let's go. Flying Daggers. Where are we at? So, I had a lot of Dowsing Daggers and Zakamas hanging out due to extremely good pack luck, you could say. So I figured let's put them together, right? A Black Lotus seems like a good way to get out Zakama. So here we go. This is the fully theoretical. I'm nowhere near this version of this deck. So what we got here is a bunch of flyers. We got 1-drops, we got 2-drops, we got 3-drops. We also have Ferostodon because Menace is pretty good. And it's just a pretty good creature. And then Phoenix. And then 2 Zakamas. I actually have 3. But 2 is probably the right number. So this version is basically a red-white version. The next version I'll show you, we go Naya. And we put tons of good stuff in there. I'd like this version to be better, but I'm not sure it is. But it seems sweet, right? 5 4-ofs? Seems pretty good. Okay, so we were rocking Sky Marcher Aspirin here, which means we're kind of hoping for Ascend, and I really love the white enchantment and Ascend package. 4 Baffling Ends, 4 Ixalan's Binding. Just really helps. Really helps get to Ascend. Those Baffling Ends for sure. You're not going to really get a turn 4 Ascend off your Sky Marcher, which is the ideal turn to flip your Dagger. We should talk about Dagger, shouldn't we? We should just stop here and talk about Dagger for a second, since that is the whole point. Dowsing Dagger. 2 colorless. Artifact equipment. When Dowsing Dagger enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2 0/2 green plant creature tokens with Defender. That's terrible. Moving on. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, combat damage, you may transform Dowsing Dagger, equip 2. And it transforms into the Lost Veil, which is a retappable Black Lotus non-legendary land. Which means you can flip as many of these as you want. This card's pretty decent. It really is. Like, you think the O2 green plant tokens suck. But most people have no idea what to do with an O2 green plant token. What's a red-green Dino deck going to do with a plant token? Nothing. Just sits there. Slows down your attacks on the ground. But besides that, they normally just sit there. And they eventually chump off. No one really pumps them and attacks in with them or anything. They don't sack them for mana. So they're not that bad if you're not trying to get through with Dowsing Dagger in the normal fashion. And if you are, then it just takes an extra turn or so before you whittle away. There's also ways around that, like, for example, playing Fiery Cannonade. By the way, Rampaging Feroctodon. If you have that out when you play Dowsing Dagger, your opponent takes 2 for the plant tokens. That's a lull. First time I did that and I saw that happen, I was like, this is pretty sweet. And there's no questioning flipping into a Black Lotus. The only question is what to do with it. And that's why we're packing our Zakamas. As well as a Sunbird's Invocation. As well as an Immortal Sun. So we're running 3 Dowsing Daggers. And basically all flyers except for the Feroctodon, which I think is pretty good. I guess I feel like I needed the 3-drop slot filled up. Because 2 drops we have... 1 drops we have the Sky Marchers. 2 drops we have the Sky Terrors, the Baffling Ends, and the Daggers. 3 drops we got the Sunwings. 4 drops we got the Binding and the Phenai. No 5-drop, and then Sunbirds and Immortal Sun, and then double Zakama. I mean, they kind of defeat it, but you just... Like, I was talking to Bees about this, about trying to get in and flipping a dagger turn 3, and that's really super duper hard. So it's not really about flipping the dagger turn 3. But at the same time, if you're attacking with the dagger and the Feroctodon, you're attacking with a 5/4 menace creature. Which means you kill both plant tokens the first swing. If they double block. So it slows you down a turn, and that's what I said would happen. And when we get to the Naya deck, that'll happen a lot. But normally it doesn't matter that much because you just keep pushing through. But generally what you want here is like turn 2 Sky Terror, turn 3 Dagger, turn 4 Flip. That's pretty much the best you can do. You can do something like Aspirant, Dagger, Sunwing. Throw it on the Sunwing flip, turn 4. So there's like a lot of ways to turn 4, and we're playing almost all flyers so that an O2 token doesn't do anything. Ferocity is the standout exception to that, but the Menace helps. And there's a reason they banned this card. It must be good, right? I just threw in a 1 of Sunbird and Immortal Sun because I feel like if you do get that mana, you should have something to do with it. And these are two absolutely fantastic things to do with it. I don't have an Immortal Sun. But if I had a free Black Lotus, Immortal Sun seems a good thing to cast. The problem is I would run Radiant Ascension, but we have Vamps, Dinos, Phoenix. So Radiant Ascension on like Dinos is only kind of meh. But the Immortal Sun triggers, gives +1/+1 to any creature. So I think that would be really nice in here. Once again, the Baffling End Binding plus Ascendancy is super sweet. If you're thinking about man, Ascend is pretty good in like blue-white. You can play Search for Azcanta, Baffling End, and Ixalan's Binding. You can get Ascend in no time. Start casting Secrets of the Golden City for 3. Throw in a Profane Procession, and you're just nothing but enchantments and Ascend. It sounds really good. Sounds very good to me. And very tough to beat. Because even if you're packing enchantment removal, you're not packing that much. That's pretty much what my Jeskai control deck was before the Rix update. Was nothing but enchantments that flipped into legendary lands. And they get the job done because people can't really deal with them. People are starting to play... This is hard to say. People, I think, are starting to play more Field of the Ruins. But at the same time, Field of Ruins is slowing you down so much against like Merfolk decks, you almost can't play them anymore. In a best of one situation, I'm not sure Field of Ruin is worth it. Unless you're playing a control deck. In which case, of course, you're playing those. But in any kind of aggressive or even mid-range deck, Field of Ruin might just not be worth it anymore. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but if you're playing 3-color and maybe you want to use it to fetch a land, I understand. But it's just slow, man, and Merfolk is fast. Getting a colorless mana turn 2 is pretty bad news. So I'm kind of off Field of Ruin. Though I understand its true power, I'm off of it. For this deck, I haven't even done the lands. I'll let you guys figure that out for yourselves, I guess. But this is it. This is 34 cards. Pretty sure. 35, it says. Well, I guess that's okay. We could actually fit in one more card. Play 24 lands. The curve is decent. Sometimes you get the Zakama Au Naturel, but not that much. I don't know. This is the deck I'm playing. All right. Let's show you guys how close I am to this deck, which is just absolutely miles away from what you just saw. Let's take one more look at it. And you can see how miles away I am from this. No. I like the binding more because it works with the ascendancy. You could put Settle. I mean, you can always put Settle. The card's pretty darn good. But this is more aggressive, really. I mean, we do have a 1-drop, and we have nothing but flyers. Like, I've just won on flyers alone and never did anything with the Dagger. Couple Sky Terrors in a row. If they're not packing Moment of Craving, you can beat a Dino deck. If you're on the play with turn 2, turn 3 Sky Terror, you can beat a Dino deck. All right, let's copy it. I have 1 Baffling End. I have 2 Daggers. I have 4 Sky Terrors. 1 Ferostodon. 2 Phenai. 1 Sunwing. This is basically what I have. Yeah, I can see that. It's tricksy. Because, of course, you're going to attack with flyers because you have flyers. I think you bring up Settle a lot, Cardboard Nomad, and I can't disagree with you, man. Settle's a very good card, but I only have 1. So maybe when I'm brewing and stuff, I just don't take it into consideration as much as I would if I've been playing it a lot. See what we got in our notepad here. All right, so here's how we fill up this deck over here at the temple. Two Trapjaw Tyrants. They're pretty good. You can also get them out fast if you do manage to flip the Dagger. I think I'm actually on 3 now. I think I just packed another one. And by packed, I mean 1. Can I just call it pack? Do I not have to differentiate between pack and win victories? This card is decent. It slows down a lot of stuff. It slows down the board more than a Ripjaw Raptor. Yeah, that's all I could say. We're making do here. Here's a card that goes out to Bees. Shake the Foundation. I don't know. Seems like the right deck to play a card that only deals damage to ground creatures. It cantrips. If you can sweep a good amount of merfolk or vamps, that's value right there. This card is interesting and good. Oh my goodness. My deck is so janky. If you can't tell, the notepad I'm looking at is bright white, so that's why I'm squinting so hard. So much like the Shake the Foundations, I'm rocking 2 Fiery Cannonades. Yeah. I don't know. There's just not much that's going to surprise me at that point. Like, I guess if they go Carnage, Tyrant, Savage Stomp, I'm in trouble. But it all comes into play unsummoned. Like, there's not much people do against flyers. And if you're just clocking them with flyers the whole time, they need to outclock you. They can't defend, and you can choose to defend if you want. And Trapjaw Tyrant is just great because If they don't have a good removal for it, you can block a creature and steal another, and it's just too much. You just clock them, and they're done. So yeah, I guess I'm missing a lot of those creatures, so I'm just packing a bunch of removal. I think I spelled lightning wrong. I guess not. Basically just put in all my good stuff. We got a Lannery Storm here. Lannery's good for ramp. Yeah, I mean, if you're attacking with Sky Marcher on turn 1 and going to Sky Terror turn 2, you're clocking them pretty hard. In the air, which they basically have nothing. I mean, even most Merfolk deck are not running that many Shaper's Apprentice. You're just racing, and if you can draw like a Shake the Foundation or a Fiery Cannonade and wipe them out for a turn, or cast the Kama. Like, that's the payoff, folks. When you cast the Kama, you normally get 3 lightning bolts. You can do a lot with 3 lightning bolts. And I have yet to cast Zakama off Sunbird's Invocation, but I assume that would be bomb. Can't cast double Zakama, sadly. Well, you could. You lose one. Shake the Foundation plus Cannonade does 3 damage to every creature. It's not bad. I got a Forerunner in here. Maybe Forerunners are good in here. Once again, this synergizes with Fiery Cannonade and Shake the Foundation. You can get yourself in trouble, of course, because your flyers are pretty small. Fiery Cannonade also does kill your Sky Terrors and your Aspirants. So if that was your point cardboard, you make a good point. You got to be careful. You can't just plop your hand on the board like those red-green Dino players. Peace. Peace. But Forerunner finds the Kama. It finds Trapjaw Tyrant. Those are pretty much the 2 things you're looking for most of the time. I mean, I feel like Fiery Cannonade's worth the risk. Like, if you lose an Aspirant and a Sky Terror, and they lose their entire board of Merfolk, seems pretty good. Squire's Devotion could be. I'm really afraid to play any enchantments on a creature where I don't have some kind of counter spell. That's my general feeling on enchantments. And now we get even deeper into the jank I'm running. I've won games with this, folks. Gleaming Barrier. It's something. You can block a Ripjaw Raptor, not take any damage, not let them draw a card, and get a treasure. There's a lot of impetus to get, you know, a little extra land, a little extra treasure around here. Treasure Map might have a place here. I don't have it in the deck right now. And speaking of trying to skim extra land at any chance we get, throw in a Compass. Throw in 2 relics. And welcome to the Jank Brewing Company, folks. This is what I've been running for a lot of my games. It's not so bad. It's really not so bad. There was one game I won when I played Zakama and I didn't win. But generally when you play Zakama, you win. So that is deck one. We don't have all night, so I'm not going to spend too much. I feel like I should be talking about play patterns more. I feel like people who do good deck techs talk about play patterns and like how you're supposed to play out a hand. Like normally I just list the cards, and while I'm listing them, I kind of mention the interactions. But I don't really talk about a general strategy or play pattern. And I guess I should. I just feel like it's all covered when we're talking about the cards themselves. I don't know. I guess if I had to say anything about the play pattern, you try to flip Dowsing Dagger as soon as possible. That's the goal here. I don't know. Ixalan's Binding is a really strong card. Like our 4-drops are very strong. Phoenix is very strong. Dagger on Phoenix is good. Perhaps there's a game where you want to play the Dagger on the Phoenix and just not even flip it. Having a 6/4 flyer seems pretty good. And of course, if you land Sunbird's Invocation, all this stuff gets great. I don't know. It's pretty fun. Bees searching the databases for the jank. All right, let's move on. I don't have any other decks made up. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this one. Let me change the deck title. To Dino Daggers. This is basically a Nio Dino deck where we're trying to do the exact same thing. Except it's more Value Town than Nio Dinos. Somewhere in between Naya Value and Naya Dinos. Still just trying to push Zakama Dagger in the end. And this has got a lot of spice in it. So let's find that one. All right. This one we're up to a full 3 Zakamas. So you know we mean business. Seems greedy in retrospect. Seems greedy in I mean, why shouldn't the dagger work? It's a Black Lotus. And there's creatures like Zakama and Amulet and Sunbird's Invocation that can really get value. Like, the problem with what's the one? What's the one, Bees, that we've just been talking about that I wanted and you have 2 of? It's not Arch of Erazka. Erazka. It's the one that flips and you get X mana for your life total. Azor's Gateway. Azor's Gateway. Anyway, Azor's Gateway doesn't really have a home in this Ixalan constructed format because we don't really have that much of a payoff card for it. There are payoff cards. Zakama is 1, by the way. And if I had an Azor's Gateway, I would probably run it in one of these decks. I'd probably have to change the curve a little bit. I mean, this deck has, you know, everything up to 9. But, the Azor's Gateway mana is a bit too much, really, for this format. But a Black Lotus is not too much. 3 extra mana a turn is great. And by the way, when you cast Zakama, you get to untap that land and you get 3 more. Pretty good. All right, so we're just basically stuffing in a bunch of green usual suspects here. This deck could use a lot of tweaking, I'm sure. Holy moly. All right. This deck, I think, is pre-Sky Terror, which is probably stupid. All right, we're going to throw on this deck up anyway. This card's good at finding land. Jade Light Ranger. Ripjaw Raptor, another good green card. Wayward Swordtooth. I have one. So why not play it in a deck where I have Jade Light Ranger? Because those two guys are best bros. We're just trying to dump mana, you know? And in respect for dumping mana and playing big creatures, a Polyraptor. Keep the Forerunner, of course, since we're playing Polyraptor. Cut the arches. Playing a Priest of the Awakening Sun. I guess to make up for my lack of aspirants. Of course, Ranging Raptor, because that ramps. God, I hate that card ramps. Waker of the Winds. That's a good call. No, man. Waker of the Winds is a good payoff. And you know what? That's what I saw Brendan DeCandio running when I beat him. He played Azor's Gate on me. And he had a Waker of the Winds, but I killed him with a... You'll appreciate this, Nomad. I killed him with a red-black pirate deck. Stuck on 2 lands, but I was able to play basically everything out of my hand and just run him over. Of course, since we're playing Dinos, we got to play all the Savage Stomps we got, because that card is broken. Be broken. We're taking out pretty much, yeah, all this. We're playing a full set of Branch Walkers. We're doing a lot of exploring, or a good amount of exploring. Keeps us on curve, which means we can get to Zakama naturally. Hell yeah is right, Nomad. Hell yeah is right. Thank you. Ooh, I wanted to test that anyway. Did that come up? That's the first high five I've gotten for that win. And I know I was sucking up to you because I had your deck. Drovers. They ramp. Needletooth, because this is my pet card these days. I really like Needletooth. Outran a Tetsamok. Yeah, man. For sure. I agree. It's a waste of tempo. I lost to that today. Now, granted, I didn't get my 6th land to like turn 9. Actually, I never got my 6th land. That was the problem. But it was at least turn 8 when I died. And we're just not doing lands tonight, folks. That's the story over here at the Jank Brewery Company. We are not going to do lands because they're bad. I did want to talk about that, and we'll probably talk about that next stream. About land bases. We're going to talk about it a little more tonight because it comes up. And we got a Reggie in here. One Reggie because I got him. And then what do we cut? I think we have Baffling End in here still. Maybe not. I think we cut all the lightning strikes, huh? This is kind of my first incarnation of the deck, so it's not nearly as neat as that last deck was and organized. You just played someone with that, Bees? He hopped on that quick. I don't even know if Aspirant's in here either. I don't think Aspirant's in here either. Kinjali's Suncaller is a possible 1-drop slot here. That helps the comma. How are we doing on cards? 40? Seems a bit much. Right now I prefer trying for the red-white version. Shake the Foundations is probably out. I wonder how many trap draws we're playing. Gosh, that notepad is so terrible to read for my eyes, I'm sure. I don't think there's any trap jaws in here, which is just stupid. Are we at the right number if we hit? Yeah, that must be the list. Oh no, I don't have any of the blue-white parrots. There's so many uncommons I'm missing. It's a shame. Anyways, this is the deck I started with when I had the idea for Dowsing Daggers. I've mostly been playing the kind of heavy red-white version. But I'll tell you what, this deck was explosive at times. The Wayward Swordtooth plus the Explorer creatures plus the Ranging Raptors. Like, you didn't really need to flip a dagger to get into Zakama pretty quick. Here's what I don't understand. Why is it whenever I play a Forerunner of the Empire, the opponent kills it, but whenever my opponent plays it, I never have an answer? And I play decks with lots of answers, folks. What kind of rotten luck is that? Anyway, we can look at the curve here. Holy moly. Tie for 2 and 3 drops. I think the curve is fine. I mean, There's a reason I don't play this. And it's because I don't want to Savage Stomp my Ranging Raptor, even though that's probably the best play most of the time. Either on turn 3 or turn 4. I don't want to be like bees. I'm trying to be a better person. But you can see how this deck works. This deck is a lot more mana ramping. It's a lot less concentrated on flipping the dagger and more on just playing a bunch of mana ramp. And if you flip the dagger, great. What are you doing with those plant tokens, bees? That's what I'm saying. Those plant tokens, like, they seem like a drag, but they're not that bad. You cut through them. You cut through them pretty fast. Even a 2/1 branch walker can trade and not die, which I guess doesn't count as trading, but you know what I'm saying. Use them for reckless. See, you're just sacking them off. I don't know, folks. You know, I'm to a point where I'm pretty fed up with my own decks, like Cardboard Nomad said. Fed up with the meta. I'm not fed up with the game at all. Let's make that very clear. I am not fed up with the game. But I just want to start brewing. And sadly, because of the current state of the economy, a lot of this is hypothetical. Like, you saw the difference between my dream Dowsing Dagger, the Flying Dagger deck, and what I was currently playing. Some of that stuff might be better than... Like, when I think about that Flying Dagger deck, I have no removal, right? There was just absolutely no removal in that deck. That can't be right. Anyway, that's it for this deck. We can name it. This is Dino Daggers. We can look at it in the spoiler for a second. I'm not going to really do any play testing things here. Let's look at Flying Daggers first. Okay. We got 4 Baffling Ends, 4 Ixalan's Binding, so I'm happy with that. That's a good amount of removal. And they're very strong removal cards. Now let's look at Dino Daggers. We'll look at it in the fancy spoiler. Jadelight Ranger is very good, folks. There's a reason people are trying to put this in their standard deck. And that's the next deck we're going to get to, by the way. Hold on to your hats for the next deck. Sultai. That's your clue. Phoenix is fine. Like, Phoenix is just a great target for your dagger. There's very few things that are going to be able to jump block a Phoenix or trade with a Phoenix for very long. You could even put a dagger on a Phoenix token if you had to. I've never been that far. Yeah, what about Trove? I guess the treasure is kind of nice, but is that a 4-drop? Pineapple pizza? Are you really eating pineapple pizza? My next scene I'm going to have to make is we're going to have to leave the brewery and we're going to have the Monk Pizzeria. You know what I wish? I wish you guys could click on that jukebox and like play a song. But I don't think you can do that. I don't think there's any kind of activity that you can do that. See, Cardboard, you're just trying to take us back to settle the wreckage. You're trying to take me back to settle the wreckage. Once you start playing Trove, then you start playing Settle again. Slippery slope. Slippery slope. I don't know, man. That 4-drop slot is just so highly contested. Would you rather play a Trove or an Ixalan's Binding? Trove seems like win more in that situation. Like, there has not been a time ever, and I've played Trove, that I have wished for a top deck Trove. But there's been a gazillion times that I've wished for a top deck Binding. Just 3 games ago, someone played Veraska. What do you think I was begging for? A Binding, man. Frickin' Binding. I don't know. I kind of got sold on the Jeskai control deck pre-Ricks in Arena. So I'm very, very, very partial to Binding. And I don't really think it's gotten worse. Pathometal deck I can kind of understand because it's the top of your curve. But that card's not good if you don't have a flipped path. If you don't have the Tower of Triumph. Like, then that card's not very good. I don't know. I feel like Trove belongs in a Mardu, Revel, Settle control deck. Like, that's the best place for it. Like, if your win con is Revel, then I think Trove is good. In almost any other case, I think you can find a better 4-drop. All right, I think we're done with this. Cheers.